to the next match, which will be MNM versus Vanir. Okay, this is an interesting one. Why? I can set up the stakes if you guys want. If Vanir wins this one, they're one game away from X7. You okay?
Vanir are literally one game away from making playoffs, technically. They're one game away from X7, which means they're on their tail, ready to snatch the last playoff spot from the former NLC champions, EU Masters quarterfinalists, by the way. And MNM lost 3 games back-to-back that they will be beating themselves for, because this could have been 3 easy victories in their resume right now, which would have already tied them with X7, but they're still big contenders. And the fact that we're still saying that, Nuriki at 3 wins, MNM at 3 wins, Vanir is at 4 wins, X7 is at 6. They're so close.
It's such an important game for both teams, right? As you say, if MNM end up winning this game, then they are tied with Vanir, and then they can look to climb above them, and then put themselves in at the 7th place team, saying, we are right on your tail, X7. So I think for both teams, this is such an important game, and we have to remember the momentum as well, that we do see MNM coming into this game with just beating X7. And yes, let's be honest, this split, many teams can beat X7, but it is still such a big victory for such a struggling team to say, yeah, we beat our EU Masters quarterfinalist, and we beat our reigning champions.
At the end of the day, Riddle versus JDXL might have been the game of the week in terms of what we could expect from them in terms of standings. This is the game of the week. Vanir versus MNM. It's time to go into Champion Select. There we go.
Very quiet.
A small tap. A small tap. A gentle one, because this is going to be a bloodbath.
I'm Greek, I'm sorry, it's all about the...
I'm Portuguese, so you know I'm the same, but
exactly.
I'm trying to educate myself.
It's the fire.
What can we expect?
Right, so... last time, I felt like MNM won straight through soft, picking the Volibear, getting Michigo ahead onto that Kalista, and then allowing Chimera to slowly but surely scale into the later stages of the game. Now, Michigo is not going to be allowed to play the Kalista, but let's not forget, he has another early game ADC. He has Samira that he plays a lot towards the bot side of the map. Lucian Nami is still a thing towards the bot side of the map. So if MNM really want to play early game and snowball through that, there are still picks that you can put on Michigo.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I in many ways agree. What I'm very excited for to see here from the side of Vanir is how will Merbs fare? Because what we saw Merbs do mainly in the NLC Division 2, he was being protected very well. He had like 15, 20 minutes where he got all the gold on the map, and then he steamrolled the late game team fights. I want to see if they bring that out here today, maybe if they go towards that, or if they maybe play more towards Dreampool, the new acquisition they added a couple of weeks ago.
So I really like this, because they banned the Lucian and the Kalista, and I feel this is more of an invitation of, if you want to pick Samira, feel free to do so. We've got the answer to that. They're going to pick the Zeri, which is not necessarily a Samira counter per se, but it does scale better later on in the fights. But seeing that Soft again locked in the Volibear, I actually would not mind seeing the Samira right here, because if you want to snowball, this was your win condition last time, you allow KLM to pick later on when he has something safer to pick, potentially even a blind pick since your blue side, and yeah, you just prioritize your bot lane at this point.
And if you pick on one side the Zeri, we have to reply with the AD carry on the other side, or else the champion pool is going to be heavily nerfed as well. They're going to ban on the bot lane for Michigo. They know they're one of their carries. They need to pick it right now.
Do it. Samira Nautilus, slam it.
Okay, you're predicting the Samira. You're very confident in it. It will be the Esper instead, though. And that is a bit more boring, I think we can all agree on.
For Michigo?
Sorry. All right, so the reason why I like this, and I don't mind seeing it, is because it has perma-prio bot lane. So your bot lane is going to be permanently shoved in, and we could potentially see Soft start top side of the map, Ericsson, you're my boy, top side of the map, into bot side, where you have the full push, and using your bot lane to actually invade and utilize the early game kit from the Volibear.
Yeah, that was not going to happen. That was not going to happen. Don't try to bait us in, as Adi is going to get locked into the mid lane. No support. I know, but he went for the action. I was like, nah, don't do it. That's not going to happen. The Pantheon? The Katarina? Maybe next patch.
Ooh, spicy.
I would like to see Katarina next patch.
It would be fun. It would be very fun, but something that's very sad to see, guys. I have to highlight it. Look at it. The Swain has been removed. I mean, what will Chimera play then? What's he gonna do? I'm very excited. Obviously, he will probably go towards the mages, but yeah.
I'm just gonna say Lissandra. Chimera is a very known Lissandra player as well. Swain and Lissandra are the 2 champions that you usually want to play into the Ari. but...
You're going to ban it.
Who's your carry here? Because you pick Lissandra, you're lacking damage because you've got Ezreal down the bot lane and a Volibear in the jungle. It's not necessarily a hyper carry in the jungle, like a Graves, a Kindred, anything of that sort. So here, we might have a situation where MNM relies heavily onto Calem to do the damage, which traditionally has not served them wrong. I think Calem has done a very good job, especially when he's on picks like the Camille, to actually facilitate that damage. And now that the Lissandra has also been banned, Chimera might even default towards something like a Vex.
That would be interesting. We don't get to see that a lot, even though it fall a little bit off priority with the new patch, right? The durability patch. I forgot about the name, the durability patch. Maybe it comes back on this specific one, but now it's Vanir's time to finally reveal another card. Maybe they can go for the support and save the top lane.
I think right here you do traditionally go for the support because you already know that the Karma Ezreal has been locked down the bot lane. I think you also go potentially for an Enchanter together with your Zeri. The Lulu works wonders here. You can also use it for Wukong. Renata is one of the best supports in this particular patch, so...
That's expectedly, not surprising in any way. What we're looking for here, though, is what would be the pick for Chimera. Maybe the Orianna, something he has deviated to a lot. You mentioned the Lissandra is banned, so wouldn't surprise me if they just say, okay, we go with the stock standard. The Orianna always able to offer something good in the team fights, unless you go 0-5. Regardless, though, what we're looking for is actually not that they're going for the top lane at the moment. Calem would obviously prefer a good matchup, but he will be counterpicked in the end. So the Camille, something he has played a lot.
But you're safe as a Camille, unless you see something really hardcore, I would say. You're safe as a Camille on the top side. Calem as well versus Dreampool that hasn't been able to pull his own weight so far. He's still getting used to the team.
His best champion so far has been the Ornn. For the side of Dreampool. And I wouldn't mind Ornn when you've got a Zeri, a Wukong, and an Ahri on your team. Especially trying to reach the backline, especially playing into the Camille. You're a little bit more undiveable. You don't care too much about your brother, which is Volibear. So I wouldn't mind seeing something more of like a tank towards the top side of the map for Dreampool, which is traditionally what he has done better in the 3 games that he's played this split.
Oh. Yeah, the Corki, obviously Corki. We all know how strong he is, hit level 16. Your rockets deal a lot of damage, even level 11. And it's something we saw Chimera players a lot as well.
It's not a joke, it's not.
That's a Renekton.
It's not a joke. The crocodile is back.
Okay, so I'll give you more.
Priority Herald.
Sure, that and the fact that the Empowered W breaks shields from Renekton. So you do get that sort of advantage versus the Camille. Again, 2 proactive junglers that want to play for the early game. Volibear's choice is only top lane. You only play towards Camille. You're not going to play towards an Ezreal Karma lane. You're not going to play towards your Corki lane. On the other side, you've got 3 setup lanes. Handshake into Wukong gank works. Taunt into Wukong gank works. Stun into Wukong gank works. So for the side of Vanir, Kraox has a plethora of choices.
Yeah,
I'll take for you.
I mean, all I really want to add here is Dreampool is very comfortable on the Renekton. It is one of his most played champions competitively, and I'm very happy for that, but I don't think it's going to be enough. MNM take the game.
So MNM is going to take this one. What about you? Reminder, you guys are tied.
I really like what Vanir have. I like the setup. I like the mid jungle prio and duo that they've drafted for themselves, so I'm going to go for Vanir.
So it has to be for one of you, the prize for tonight. I'll show you on the post-game as the last game is ready and set go to go into the Summon's Rift. Without further ado, let's toss it to the gentlemen. We know them. It is Nymera and Viperun.
Yeah, it is. That's us. We're the people who are going to do the game. And...
Yes.
So, Renekton, eh?
Yeah, so it's worth saying Renekton has not really had a happy adaptation to the meta ever since Sterix and Gordrinker were really, really hit for this champion. He was a big user of those items. Since they were gone, kind of sucked for him. Now, what Renekton does do, and actually I was theorizing about this actually today on Twitter, which is very strange, didn't expect this to come up today. The only reason Renekton should get picked is because you can win Herald fights. At level 6 around Herald, he wins that. You get to snowball through the game with a team with like the Wukong and the Ahri, the Zeri, lots of abilities to run through the fights, which we've seen in terms of high mobility comps in today. Maybe you can take a big enough win there that it's okay. It's such a slim reason to pick this though. And actually, you know the way you stop that from happening? You don't fight Herald.
Well, I mean, if you pick Belveth for an action, the best buddies on the Rift, because you get the Herald, you get your...
Yeah, that's great, but Belveth wasn't even picked at all today.
I know, but honestly, that's fine for me. We are on to Summoner's Rift for our final game of the day. Vanir up against MNM Gaming. Both of these teams looking to stamp their authority on the bottom end of the table and say, look, we're still contesting those playoff spaces. X7 beware, because we are here. And both of these teams, we've got the Zoo coming in on one side with the Ahri, the Wukong, and the Renekton. We've got Volibear on the other side. Menagerie of Championes.
Yeah, it is worth, again, speaking about how close these teams are now, actually, to X7. We said this on Monday and a little bit at the end of last week, too. The tables are close enough that one good week, one bad week can get you in and out of playoffs. There was a divide, but it wasn't so big that you are safe. Now, you have a team like Vanir, who is at 2 wins behind X7, who are at 6 currently,
yes.
and MNM, who are on 3. You walk away with a win here, and you start feeling pretty okay about things. And X7 start getting a bit hot under the collar.
And especially for a team like MNM especially, as there's just a bit of an exchange going on in the middle lane.
That's actually really interesting. So that's the E start from Chimera, because the Gatling gun has a lot of base damage if you get someone to stand in it for a very long period of time. Now, what you can do, and I hate saying this as someone who can give secret tips away for things against my champion, you can take bone plating against someone like Ahri. That early trades can get very, very awkward. Speaking of early trades, it's going to be MNM looking to stop a trade of any kind of jungle camps and walk in and force Kriox off.
Kriox is going to walk away, got one of the wolves, but the other 2 will be stolen away by Soft. But fortunately for Wukong, wasn't caught out and killed, but now the blue buff could also be forfeit.
Blue buff could be an entire quadrant. It depends what we want to see from Soft, because what you can do as Kriox is try and use Ahri to get some priority over mid lane, and then try and get Wukong to cross map, go over to the enemy Raptors, enemy red, and contest that very quickly. But the problem is, you're doing this against a Volibear rather, and once Volibear hits level 3, which you will do, build beginning very quickly, and you can potentially get ganked in mid and maybe blow a flash on that Ahri. Once that Ahri's flash is down, things get a little bit awkward after that point. Maybe you can out-duel that Wukong. Instead, actually, it's going to be Kriox very quickly heading over to the enemy jungle side of the map and trying to take away that blue buff to make sure that Soft, hopefully, is going to lose out something on himself. So Soft actually choosing not to commit to everything, but this is the worry, right? Again, you can try and get jungle advantage for Kriox, but does it expose mid?
Soft's looking towards Ericsson, has just hit level 3, but he moves upriver towards the top side. Does have Wukong in support if he can get there quick enough, but a lot of damage going down to Ericsson, of course. He does have flash available. It's coming on through. The flash forward will go over the wall, but Soft and Chimera might look to chase. Renekton has all the priority in the world, though, so Vanir should be okay.
So I thought Ericsson might have been doing a bit of healthy trolling there at first, because he didn't use that flash. Oh, it's the level 2 Kriox. Didn't even have the warrior trickster to get that clone out of the way. But yeah, I mean, Ericsson somehow trading flash for flash against Chimera. I actually think that works out for Vanir now, because you return to that at your level 6, which of course will be around about the 6 to 7 minute mark for, well, 6 minute mark is about when you hit level 6 for your laners. Ericsson TP's back. Now, of course, Chimera not going to have a flash for potential Herald, for potential level 6 all-ins. That might be a little dangerous for MNM.
Just at this bot side, Ezreal Karma up against the Zeri Renata Glass. Some very familiar faces if you've been watching on this patch. A lot of champions that we see a lot of. Karma, maybe a little bit less than the others, but it's still certainly a regular.
It was very high priority at the start of the durability patch. It's always been a favorite of Korea because they love getting safe and easy lane pro and bot lane. Really feels like something like a Kalista has been the easier way to achieve that nowadays. But either way, Karma, Ezreal, been receiving a little bit more attention, a little bit more presence in the drafts than we have been used to the last couple of patches. So that's normally there, of course, for that early priority. Hasn't really done much except for the early invading towards bot side, which is now kind of ended up evening out as the weird jungle stuff happened, and we're kind of back to a reset jungle state.
We have a dragon up pretty soon. Ocean to start us off, as the top lane hasn't been all action, all fighting, all exciting, with this Renekton coming in for first one we've seen in a long time. Did have priority, of course, when there was that scrap in the mid lane moving up the river, but past that has just been pretty happy going even against this Camille.
Now you start, if we have to focus down on what is this Renekton actually going to do. So I theorized, you know, Renekton tends to be pretty good around Herald fights, and we'll have to check whether MNM even want to commit to that. I think that they have enough priority in their bot lane to commit to neutral objectives if they so wish, whether that is a early dragon or a rotation up towards Herald. And either way, though, I feel like maybe just don't give Redectin his point of power. I feel like that's the way you beat Redectin. The one time he wants to fight, don't fight him. It's a little simple. With that, MNM going to use that bot prep, as we were saying, to start up that dragon.
Sov is being very careful not to get caught out, but the dragon, he will step up and should be spotted up. It doesn't really matter, though, because MNM have priority in the bot lane, moving on forward.
What happens with this is, so obviously Vanir will now know this is happening, but if you don't look over to the shrine, Dragon doesn't have an icon on the map, so you don't actually get to see on the mini-map whether it is happening. Your camera would have to be over there at the time, so pulling it out with the Sky Splitter. Just a little bit of min-maxing. It's not the most important thing in the world, but worth calling out, because I think that's quite intelligent.
Sov's an intelligent guy.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Expect into that one instead of wisdom, like Vanir, who are the druids, remember? You know, all their pets.
Yeah. All of the animals in the world as Ericsson and Chimera continue trading.
The great battle between what's an intelligent wizards and druids. I mean, wizards are the intelligence class in D&D. Yeah. Or artificers, could be that too.
Wow.
But no one plays them because they're a weird niche class. They break the game.
Themselves? I was playing in 4th edition when Sarnax came in.
Oh, 4th Ed was so weird.
Rammed my head through a window because then I might make sense of what all the words mean. But I was like 12. I wasn't a smart kid when I was playing.
And what's happened to that now you're an adult?
Concussion. Head injury.
It's lasted that long ever since you were 12?
Full-time job as a League of Legends caster.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
I mean, Vanir are moving up towards the Rift Herald area. It doesn't spawn for a minute, but they might want to get something going in the top side. But Sof is also there in response. So if Vanir go aggressively, they're going to walk into a bear, which could be pretty problematic.
Yeah. So Chimera just about to get their flashback up, actually. Ericsson has a little while off it, but it's
brave.
It's very brave. It's a volley bear. It's a level 6 Camille. They're popping the ults.
It's a 3v3 under tower. I don't know if they're going to be able to secure this. Dreampool will be able to survive, but Caelim's falling through. Needs to be a little bit careful. Falls down the ultimatum. Dreampool is really overextended. Will be cut down for first blood. MNM, excellent response.
What a strange decision by Vanir, because you do have a window of time to make it into a 3v2. Maybe you can play around that, but then they're slow on it. They let Chimera come up, impact that fight. Now bot lane, seeing everyone topside, decide to go for a 2v2.
And for MNM, they take the worst of the trade and will be forced to back off.
What a strange decision again, because again, you've stacked up the rage. When you're looking at Renekton, the big thing is you pop this ult and you're looking to get 2 empowered abilities. That's your point of power for Renekton. That's the first, it's the empowered W. And I believe that's actually an empowered E, which is not the best. Actually, I wasn't sure if that was a Q. Either way, I mean, you don't commit to this decisively enough. I actually wonder if you're waiting for that rage bar to stack up for that second ability. That Corki gets to impact that fight. That's the one thing you really don't want to happen. Even though the CS advantage going very heavily in favor of Dreampool right now, Camille always been a little bit awkward in this matchup. He can win it, but Renekton takes it over a little earlier. But Vanir gave that advantage right the way back and kind of give Caelim a way back into the game.
And now MNM are the ones who are going up towards the Rift Herald. Renekton's on the top side, and he loves fighting around Rift Herald. I've heard on Twitter. We'll have to see if they decide to. Vanir are contesting it with the Wukong and the Ahri. In fact, they moved up their entire bot lane, so no Renekton required, as the objectives should be secured.
So this is going to be Herald. It happened in a little different way than potentially I would have foreseen it happening, because that top lane dive throwing things into account. Chimera is going to use this time, of course, to push in that wave, make sure that they can maybe go in and push some extra vision in. Mishki Shredder going to go on their own little mission at this point. They don't have any sweepers, and they put down their 1 pink ward, so their vision control is now down, but they found a Merbs.
The Ember's there as well, but so is Soft, so it'll be a 3v2, but Vanir, they're deep in their own jungle, should be able to just walk off.
So is there a cross map available? See Croaks up towards that top side, but Caelim playing very respectfully. It's going to be more farm away from the Camille. Really getting a little anemic at this point. Not that many resources onto this top laner for MNM. Caelim has been actually a fairly high resource, fairly high value player for MNM. Particularly on James like the Gangplank. We actually had a chance to talk to him on an interview last week too. Or rather on Monday, that was one. After the X7 game. But in this game, it's been a little bit off the script from what he's normally been working for.
Dive coming up through, but there's teleport. Soft's like, this is cool. We've just burnt their teleport. Ericsson's now down in the bot side, so I'm just going to leave.
And that's a freebie. You just threaten the dive, get something for it. I mean, you've already cleared through most of the camps that you want as Soft. You're not exactly wasting any time or wasting your presence. Now, Volibear's going to go for a quick recall, get that next base in, and Vanir now have to look at a situation where they've used one of their teleports, which can maybe help them make a big power play, which also means at this point, MNM are safe for the next couple of minutes in terms of a lot of the big playmaking tools they have, and that's going to tide them over to getting that package. They can do whatever they want now. It feels like MNM now have the choice of what they want to do next, and I would imagine a lot of that is just safely farm.
You know, there's no reason not to. You've got Dragon up in 20 seconds. It's only second Dragon, so it's unlikely there's going to be a real fight, especially with Chimera picking up the package. Would that dissuade Vanir from anything?
I think you still have a point of power briefly for your Renekton. It's before items really come into the fray, so it's just your kit. And of course, Renekton doesn't really have the best items anymore. A lot of his were nerfed along the way. Package is very strong. I'm just not sure you want to go into a Dominus. At least you don't have the flash on their Renekton to worry about. And actually, with Renekton not even having teleport, not even going to enter the equation. What am I even talking about? Didn't wander his way down. And MNM picked this one up. And Vanir leave themselves. Without too many options, can't even force the dive on topside.
No, KM just very happy to set down tactical sweep, and Dragon secured by MNM.
Chimera covers top again, has the package, and we're saying as long as they're safely farming, it's probably working out for them. They of course get themselves another Dragon on top of it. They get a play into mid.
I don't know if that one was going to work, but Chimera gets the charm, dives up towards topside. They've got pressure and a Rift Herald up there now as well. So Ericsson should be able to just run backwards.
So now, actually, this lead in topside, after the tower has gone down, after these waves have gone, it's getting a little bit awkward for Vanir. I do think that maybe it's a little much for them to go towards topside. Calum.
Oh, nice knock-up coming through from Creox. It's a 2v2 right now, but Chimera is moving forward to make this one unfair. Snipes through for the first kill of the fight, and now Dreamball is in trouble. Tries to back away, but there's 3 members of MNM waiting for Calum to get the re-engage going. There it is, the knock-up, the stun. Dreamball gets a nice heal and gets towards his tower, but I think it'll be cut down just beneath it, as it's a kill for Volibear.
And just as Vanir maybe gets to the point where that top lane lead is getting a bit too much, a couple of things happen. One, use that Herald topside. Takes the rest of those plates, but it means effectively the laning phase where Renekton can keep bullying that Camille is now over. Camille can start taking that wave closer into their own side of the map, and if Renekton chooses to push it back, it's not like it's going into a tower to be denied. And then you die on the retreat. So not only have you removed now the good laning situation for Dreamball to find a lot of advantages on this Renekton, you've given a lot of that gold back up. A lot of that gold has gone onto the Corki, and it's gone, and that is a character which loves having resources thrown at them. Not only have MNM been able to safely farm on their carries, they found ways to get ahead too.
Oh, and Ericsson could be in trouble once again. Soft moving forward. Shred is also there, but I don't know if either will be needed.
Solo kill.
Chimera secures the solo. I mean, Soft was like a decent part of that, even though he didn't.
Oh, 100%. And of course, this is a 2-part player. You managed to take away that ultimate from the first use of the package when Ahri was trying to push in as just some kind of response to this top lane play, right? I mean, Ahri is trying to push in towards that mid lane, and at that point, things are awkward again. But as we said, it's just a bit of an overstay. Chimera once again hovering top, and Chimera has been on an absolute tear this week. Chimera was really the reason, or one of the primary reasons, that MNM took down X7. Our current reigning champions, even though they are falling on hard times in this split. Chimera has been putting such a clinic on this time around, and this game against Vanir, this would put them even on game score. Again, push them close towards playoffs, let that dream become more of a reality. Didn't make playoffs in spring, even though they had their own run of form, and in summer, might be on the tickets once again.
I mean, winning here, even if you're not necessarily thinking playoffs are something that is super attainable, getting away from that relegation zone, getting points on the board to avoid going down towards Division 2, where there are some strong teams down in NLC Div 2 right now, so avoiding that one is going to be even more pivotal as you see teams, you know, like Lightside stepping up, Unique also having a pretty decent time. You've got Rate Gaming as well, so there's a lot of teams that you want to be avoiding down there, and for both of these sides, a win here takes them a little bit further away from Nariki, who obviously lost today, and Singularity, who also lost.
So, speaking of winning and losing, does seem like MNM edging closer towards a good situation for them. It's even in gold that they have themselves 2 extra dragons. A lot of that gold advantage will be coming at that top side. 50 CS advantage, even though plates and everything else have gone the other way. Fight in the river.
Stun out onto Ericsson, but this one looks pretty good. Soft goes low, has to ult away, but it's going to be followed through. The Renata ultimate gets enough. Going golden, but I don't think that will save your life, Soft, as he goes low. Shut down by Zeri. Caleb's on the side, but he's going to have to flank the entire enemy team, which he doesn't really want to do. Dreamball's running, cut off, the charm lands, and I think that's going to be another kill going over to Vanir. They catch a double on the Zeri.
It's not the first Herald, but they did fight Renekton around that Herald fight. Did Renekton actually have an impact on that fight? Actually, not very much. But either way, MNM the basis of that is saying you're fighting before you are ready. And once again, Shredder getting caught out now, and Dreampulp making sure that they chase them off. MNM had worked pretty hard to get themselves to an even state and get themselves to a point where they could get up to relevance. 2-3 items on Corki, onto Ezreal. At that point, they are so happy with how things would have worked out, particularly if this top side of the map hadn't snowballed from Vanir. And at this point now, Vanir get themselves a bit of a freebie. They punish one of those mistakes. It has actually been the story of the NLC of the last couple of weeks, and maybe a lot of this split too. Tarek was talking about it on the GDXL post-game winners interview too. All of the teams in the NLC are making mistakes right now. They are not perfect teams. We are ARL teams at this level. You are looking to develop, but these mistakes will happen. The question is, what do you do when they happen? How do you respond? Because they are inevitably going to go there. And Vanir, credit to them, are in position to catch the bit of a throw around this fight from MNM. They'd worked very hard to get themselves into an even position, but they capitalized when the opening shone.
And I mean, yeah, all the teams are making errors, and the second hero turret has been dropped down mid, trying to sneak away that mid tower and take away some safety from MNM, and charge should come off. Won't destroy the tower, but it's much, much closer, as Draken could now be in the sights of Vanir. 2 already gone down to MNM Gaming, so you don't want to give them a soul point in this early on.
Be a very difficult situation, because MNM could just stall the game out until they get into huge amounts of damage on their carries, as we were saying. Vanir starting it up, though. Calum on the flank.
There goes forward. Will be able to skill themselves. The Dragons are slowing that win-up condition as Dreampulp dumps into the back line. Murbs is going to be caught out. Ericsson's the one calling the ultimatum in the end, but Calum's a little bit exposed. We'll be able to grab one, but Chimera's there too, looking for the blast gun. We'll be able to take it. Calum not sent over into the river, though, where the rest of MNM are waiting. Dives on forward. The fight is continuing. Dreampulp, pretty much untouched, will be caught by the tether and goes low. Soft marauding forward, grabs another for his team. It's a double for the bear as Murbs skates away. Zaremba
and Cesari.
Flash forward stun. Calum follows as well. But Murbs is kiting, grabs 2, moving towards Shredder, but he's too quick on the retreat, and he's going to continue with the chase, the speed up, the damage, but he decides he doesn't want to overextend.
Oh, Murbs just unleashes. He absolutely Murbs out over MNM at the end of it. And again, you don't want to do this into a Zeri. It feels like, again, it is a lot of ill-advised decisions being made. A couple of those mistakes coming through and having to be capitalized on. Vanir making the right decision here. I feel like starting that dragon, making sure that MNM don't get a chance to steal it. They force the engage onto them, and once Calum and Chimera have kind of used their big engage tools, someone like Murbs doesn't actually have that much threat onto them. You don't have the ability to close down that Zeri. Zeri's already popped the ultimate, starting to stack up on those movement speed stacks, and if you keep hitting your auto attacks, keep hitting those empowered autos, you manage to keep that move speed sticking up. And while Volibear is a run-at-you champion, Zeri is a run-away-at-you champion and does such a good job of it in this fight. Don't quite manage to CC chain, and Murbs punishes them for it.
And with
Murbs out.
If Caleb had been able to grab that CC, I think that would have been a completely different story.
I agree.
Unfortunately, a little bit too quick on the flash from the Zeri means that he was able to grab an extra double and get himself even further on the board. 4-0-1 is a pretty nice scoreline to be on a Zeri when you're in this kind of game. And MNM still have these scalers, right? They still have a composition that, by and large, will feel pretty happy going into the late game on an even keel, and they're only about 2,000 behind right now.
And see what happens with this skirmish now. Soft looking on the aggressive.
Oh, yeah, needs to be very careful as he's going to be slowed up, caught up in the Renata ultimate. Fighting and chokes is not the one. As Soft goes low, will be removed by Ericsson on the side. Dreampulp teleporting in a little bit late, but his team won the fight.
That's about that. The willing was there from Dreampulp. It's just going to be joining as a cheerleader at the end of it. Calum at least gets a free chance to push in topside, but MNM, after that dragon fight, feels like they were just a little too bold to start up that fight again. Again, they shouldn't feel pressured to take these fights at this point. Soft didn't actually have the ultimate for a couple more seconds at the start of that, and of course dies before the CC chain can end, and you can cast that ult afterwards. But now Vanir, much like some of the other games we've seen today, have capitalized on the weaknesses. They need to now do their own due diligence to not make those same mistakes and throw it right back to MNM. They are on a point now where they can fight around some strong carries, 2 items on the Zeri. Zeri is your real insurance policy for Vanir compared to the Corki and the Ezreal. It's not going to be enough to catch out both of them, I feel like, in the late game, but for now it will definitely do, especially when you've got Wukong and Arya doing some aggressive playmaking of their own regards.
Momentum meter sitting in the middle right now. neither team has really, either both teams have impressed or neither team have impressed our panel of experts.
Well, I'd put it this way. There is a lead on Vanir who have an earlier spike in comp. That means that they get a little bit of a free pass for this early game, but you know that if they don't get anything done, things are going to slowly get awkward for them. So the lead, it's feel good for now, but they need to do something with it because MNM will eclipse them at some point.
Is there a kind of a break point where I should be worried for Vanir?
2 items on Corki is kind of rough, not going to lie. I think when you hit 2 items on the Ezreal and the Corki, which they've just hit, you start getting worried. I think once you get to the point where you are kind of getting to every item beyond that point, the Corki just becomes their own living artillery, and not in a Kog'Maw way, just in the way that they play around this team. I think already we're getting to this point where Vanir needs to be very worried about how Chimera's playing these fights.
Just keep your eyes on the yordle in these
I forget
exchanges.
he's a yordle, you know, 'cause he's in the copter. The ruffle copter.
He's flying a corgi, isn't he?
Yeah, in this skin, yeah. Sadly, we haven't got any zoom-in butt wiggles this time, but
yeah, and MNS didn't do that either on Monday when he was on the same skin.
There you go. That's why actually we had to bring in the tweets. We had to ensure that we had a way to get our fuzzy goodness from our pets. Dreampool.
Dreampool's looking for a flank
fight. A little more
fight.
spiky though.
Red, the damage coming through is pretty huge, and the Karma cut down by Merbs. He's unstoppable as the rest of the team. MNM got 2 side lanes looking to make advantages.
And this is kind of the problem where you're pushing lane on the other side of the map. You're not pushing towards your pushing lanes, and much like earlier into the game, jungle quadrants have become a little bit weird. It's a bit of who's actually owns this jungle, because it's been a lot of back and forth between them. But at this point, MNM walking into their own jungle, assuming they're safe, and they're absolutely not. Dreampool cutting them down to size.
Side lanes are likely to be where some action is, because Renekton's still going to be able to scrap there, even if he loses a little bit of momentum, because, as you said, bases are good, itemization can be a little bit tricky. He's got 2 items, so he's not a slouch.
Yeah, I mean, Death Stance, Death Stance and Gordrinker definitely helps. It's just, it's not the same as this godlike combo of Gordrinker into Starix from Spring, and then obviously, wait, was it even Spring at this point? Was it last year where it was super strong? I feel like it was last year at this point. It's been a while since I've thought about Renekton, because he's just not been on the radar for me. But when that was obviously very, very meta, Jinzao was, oh, it was in Spring, obviously, of course. But yeah, that's why Haru is playing so much of it.
Yeah.
Back in Spring. But hey, you know, we have had a lot of conversations about making mistakes. Do you know what happens when I make a mistake? Do you know what it's called? It's called a Nimera. Error.
That joke was in the mirror.
Yeah. You could at least take a second to let it breathe.
Didn't need to. Just did not need to. So when you know, you know.
Do you have it? Quick, think of one for yourself, sorry.
I'm Viper ruining your day.
Huh. Not only is it correct, it's factual.
I mean, those 2 things mean the same thing, but...
Well, no, technically, I suppose. Well, it depends on the frame of reference, frame of mind. Well, from a certain point of view, as one Obi-Wan can say.
Oh, my word. But, I mean, this game, Vanir and MNM, again, things feel very even. Makes sense, because these teams are very close to each other in the standings. Both teams are fighting towards, looking up towards those playoffs, hopefully and expectantly, even potentially, because right now when you look at some of the questionable performances we've seen from some of the teams up there, you've got to make a case that maybe there is a world where even both of these teams could compete.
I think that we've been seeing close games between our playoffs and non-playoffs teams in the NLC all day today. I saw that a little bit on Monday too. There were a couple more shutouts. Sometimes the early games get a little too rocky for some of our lower placed teams to ride out that storm, but it feels like teams like MNM and Vanir have been having, well, a couple have been having closer games with those top teams, and now they're up against each other. I'm not going to say it feels tense. I don't think that's the way. I feel like the way this is just not necessarily understanding their points of power. But it has been a slower paced affair again. Again, it's the same problem. The game time going a little bit forwards and not wanting to make that mistake. It has felt like these teams have been more tentative today. I think even on Monday, it felt like we were more ready to pull that trigger. But this time it's been more slow.
I mean, my mum said dinner's going to be ready in 8 minutes, so...
Oh no! We've got 50 seconds.
Hurry up! I saw a Renekton and I was like, yeah, Mum, don't worry about it.
There was one time, actually, when I was going to go to school, and I kind of like because I was playing Rome Total War, which is a great game, by the way. Absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. And this was at the time when, oh no, I don't even get to talk about this. Well, Kalim's probably going to die because he doesn't have a flash. He's going to knock him up. Oh,
I don't know, Creox is holding on to the ultimate, will pop it eventually. Just wait for Merbs to get there so he can get involved and should be able to secure the kill. Creox actually diving on down. Shredder unable to do too much.
Much like myself in that one time playing Rome Total War, I wanted to leave the PC on and then go to school because I hadn't had time to save it. Right. So then I got shut down, just like Kalim was in the top lane. Yeah, that's the end of that story. It looks like Baron's going to be started now. Vanir finally pulling the trigger. Is there a package to be aware of? What's on the table? How can MNM contest this?
I think has just picked it up, has teleport available.
There he is,
so
package coming
through as Ericsson is chased away, but Soft going to go pretty low, has to ult away to safety. Chimera, the package is available, but I don't know how much it's going to do. Have Vanir been poked off too much to actually contest any further? Yes, they have.
Greenpool has no mobility left.
Low. Chimera, what can you do? Ericsson's going to rejoin the rest of his team, but MNM not willing to go that one further step.
You can see one of the many faults of Renekton at that point. You use your flash, you use your E, that slice and dice. What do you have after that point? You're outranged and you're outgunned. Just the threat of teleporting in from Chimera. Vanir have to back off. It is a good pick in that top side. They get something for that, but the game slows down again. And the slower this game gets, the more it favors the Corki. Yes, you are scaling up on that Zeri on the other side, but it feels like Corki is going to be the uncontested DPS king with a little help from Ezreal if this game gets any slower and any longer.
Package, of course, now has been burnt. That is kind of like a summoner being thrown away. Yep. It was used to decompress the situation, but didn't actually help too much as Soft goes up in the air, goes low, trying to escape, but can't find it as Creox is ripping through MNM's backline, looking towards Chimera, but the flash is utilized as Vanir chase further. The charm was missed onto Shredder, who's still looking to escape. Ericsson's chasing forward. The tether will land. The stun doesn't come through in the end, though, as Vanir unable to find more than one.
Once again, I cannot believe it. It is a mistake thrown back in the face of the team that initially kind of created the same problems for them. It's actually, you know, Vanir getting that first pick, then having to pull off with that Baron. I thought that was going to be a difficult situation. They'd have to reset. But MNM lose a pick just after that point. Felt like the game could have slowed down. They make the mistake to speed it back up, and it have to be kicking themselves after that one. So unfortunate for them.
Very, very difficult, and game has kind of stalled out quite a lot. There's a good gold lead for Vanir. They're playing towards Soul Point in 4.5 minutes time, but they've been unable to find
the killer blows.
Yeah, it's been a case of, hey, we're winning these fights, but like not massively, so they're not achieving that much off the back of it.
Yeah, they're getting some slight teamfight victories, they're getting some picks here and there, but it's not like a big power play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're 27 minutes in, you've taken one in a tower. You've taken the dragons, that helps, but it's not at the point in time where you are definitely winning each and every fight, particularly because of the way these compositions are at. We already talked about the Corki and Ezreal and how they are really difficult for Vanir to deal with, but it does feel like Vanir haven't managed to set up the map to get these huge crushing flanks, these great engages, try and get Renekton into that backline. It's a little bit harder to do that when something like a Camille on the other side, something like a Volibear too, much less reliable at getting onto your targets, but if you're not getting onto your targets, the game slows down, and that's what they're trying to do now.
Looking to get onto the targets, will land a couple of knockouts, but gets turned low. Has to go golden to survive. Shredder's chased on Dreamball, cutting him through. Kalim comes onto the side. Mishigu is looking to dodge away from the Renata ultimate, but Vanir are looking for that killer blow to start their lead in earnest. Won't get the slow to Mishigu, but Kalim's called out. The ultimatum will not come through. Merbs could look to be bailed out here. Won't do, as he's blown up by Mishigu. The shutdown goes on to Ezreal, who's going to look to ult. Ericsson dies forward, dies for the ace, but will achieve it.
That is still the 2 carries down for Vanir. Those 2 kills from Mishigu stop Vanir getting Baron. I was about to praise them, say, you know, they've just found that killer blow, just found that teamfight win, but some last-minute heroics from Mishigu. Of course, it's Mishigu for MNM. Now, we talked a lot about Camera, but Mishigu has been the rock for this team the entire year. Manages to at least salvage something from an awful team fight for MNM.
And for Vanir, slight overextension potentially. Oh, analysts feel like they're heavily favored, but let's have another look at this one.
So this is the patience running out. This is trying to get into those targets. And we said it's unreliable at hitting that backline, getting onto the targets, but at least they managed to get the first engage. I wonder if it was a bit of a mistake from Soft to try and dive back in, especially when you're not able to check Ericsson at the end of it. The Ahri gets in, Everfrost, and burst onto the correct target. But while this is happening, Michigu's not been shut down, and Michiku, credit to him, seriously manages to land the big combo. I think that was just out of vision, actually. The Essence Flux into the ult, absolutely shredding through Ericsson, doesn't see it coming, and last auto attack comes through for an incredibly important trade. It's slow. Again, this is still a win for Vanir, but it could have been the game.
It could have been taking the game much into their favor, probably not finishing in the League of Legends.
I think it would have been done in everything but name at that point. Because if you get Baron, and then you get to reset off at that point with 5 members because you've actually not had anyone die, that would have been, I think, the game-breaking play. This has basically made it into a feels bad moment, but it's not actually led to the Baron going down. It's not led to the tipping of the scales.
And our analysts coming out of that replay were like, actually seeing that one again. A little bit less favored to Vanir than potentially we thought. So MNM still in this game in a hard-fought position, but as we said, 3 items on Corki, 3 items on Ezreal. They've started to find stride.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you compare champion like a Corki or an Ezreal, you know the targets you're going to be hitting pretty much all of the time, so you can build appropriately for that. Yeah. You can see that Corki, Ezreal, very happy to build to hit the front line in a lot of ways, particularly with like Leandries and the Eclipse. Whereas a champion like Ahri on the other side, you can see that Everfrost, the Horizon Focus as well. This is a build from Ericsson which screams to me, I don't really know who I'm hitting. You're kind of playing half utility with a little bit of extra damage and a little bit of CDR. It's kind of sad at that point. Of course, you haven't managed to snowball through anything like the library pass, you know, the Dark Seal going into something like a Magi's late into the game. None of that snowballs happened. You don't have big burst items. Feels like you've kind of had to do a jack of all trades to kind of do utility, kind of do some frontline damage for the Void Staff. And you are so far behind in your efficiency of your build compared to someone like a Corki who is, again, doesn't have the same issues.
MNM going to be moving towards this dragon. It will be solved for Vanir if they can
jump.
Creox is going to go in. Doesn't want this fight to kick off. Kalim's already dead as the ultimate burns through. There's the package as well. Chimera out the other side, but Vanir holding relatively strong in the middle, looking to jump onto the backline. Murbs gets Michigo soft, has to ult away once again. Never using that one aggressively as Murbs chases forward. Can't get the slow from the zap, but will be able to zone away members. Now Vanir can move towards this Dragon Soul and 4 Hextechs.
Soft is on vision. Dreampool. Why has this happened so much today? Dreampool doesn't even matter. He's not even.
They will take out a second. Chimera was looking towards the Crocodile. Shredder actually stays alive much longer than I thought he would. Chimera just trying to steal away this dragon, but it's just going to be a leash as Dreampool moves forward, looking to steal it. What? Vanir! Come on! They can get Baron, but come on!
Oh, they stopped the soul going up.
Torek was actually, you know, we don't have good teams here.
Oh gosh, it has been so scrappy, hasn't it? And you can see again, it's just so hard for these teams to find the killer blow. And Chimera, that is a man amongst men move. It is going to be the Baron going down, but it's not the permanent objective of the soul going over to Vanir with.
This is
with
fine
the respawns happening, you don't even get Vanir being able to immediately get uncontested push into lanes. You even get MNM going to respawn and take a tower. This is absurd stuff. Yeah, don't ask me to characterize this. I don't know how to analyze all of this. It's been an experience.
They have exactly 3 minutes. That clock on the top is saying, look, the play was fine because we got Baron, and if they could end there, doesn't matter. But this team fight starts pretty standard, but then I don't know what Vanir are doing.
So the start of this is playing around vision control, getting the first pick, and then trying to roll through it. But then, I mean,
this is all fine.
I mean, this is still a fine team. The team fight is good from Vanir. This is fine. They managed to split the team fight, and as we've seen through a lot of today, the mobility advantage is on the side of Vanir. You don't get to run away from them because you're just slower than them. What happens after this point, though, is that you don't have your Zeri, you don't have your Wukong. It feels like actually Vanir have tried to have their cake and eat it. And they don't even have their jungler at this point. Chimera very quickly realizes, hang on, they actually don't have Smite here. And this is really good recognition of Chimera to say, you don't have Smite. You've tried to get both objectives at once, head up towards that Baron. In a moment of lapse of concentration from Creox and crew, means that MNM get to stop them getting that huge soul. Is it enough, though? Baron's still down. Dragon is one thing, but the amount of gold going in the pocket of Vanir means that they can crush through this area of the map which they struggle to for the rest of the game. How much are those heroics really going to be worth?
The wallets are fat. How much damage they do when hurled at MNM structures is the question, as Vanir have moved all 5 members down to the bot lane. The mid lane tower did go down, but the inhibitor is only being attacked by some regular minions. We'll get Baron up now as Ericsson heads on over to escort them.
It's an improvised weapon, it's D4, so I've been told, but is that going to be enough to finish off and take MNM down as they only have a handful of structures left on the map? It is finally going to be that base broken open, and Ericsson has become a library reader. One good fight. And suddenly, I'm a much more happy librarian as the Magi's has been picked up. That's a little more damage. Of course, it's not that high stacks. It's breaking even in terms of gold value. When you get 10 stacks, it is solvent in terms of the amount of gold that it has. But still, extra damage, extra ability to close down these carries. Mishigu doesn't have defensive stats. Chimera only has a stopwatch. You hit the right targets now, maybe they're just going to delete.
But they're looking to close this one out. The mid lane inhibitor will be a big gain because it allows them to have pressure whenever they want it. Of course, side lanes are always lovely, but there's nothing to fight over for a couple of minutes at least. Vanir still looking to keep the pressure up, but MNM have that poke. They have the ability to defend pretty effectively. Zaremba survives.
And the Ezreal and the Corki, they've hit their items. We were saying pretty consistently, look, give enough time to the Ezreal and the Corki, and they're going to do a lot of damage. Now, the way that the fights have worked out is that they're not slow enough for Corki to have uncontested damage enough. It feels like Vanir have been playing well enough around Vision to get that first pick. Use the Flash Renekton, use the Charm, use whatever else it is available to them to get those first picks. But if you do manage to sit in one of these siege scenarios, even if you're on the receiving end of it from Vanir, it's just enough time to sit there, fire out your skill shots, and see what damage you can do.
Vanir, you've got to imagine... Well, I feel like Vanir have the killing blow in them.
I feel like they do now. That gold advantage is becoming a bit of an issue now. So much more gold in pocket. Calum overstepping a little, but not enough. Camille, obviously a very slippery champion. Next minute, got that dragon coming up. Vanir looking towards that vision control. That's been the key difference maker for them in a lot of these fights so far. Dream pull on the Renekton. Still able to be that flash point and click CC. And that first target, if they are hit, is going to hit the dirt. Question is that enough to win them the fight afterwards? How much damage can Chimera and Mishigu do even against Vanir's first pick?
Decent amount of damage goes on to Shredder. Chimera flying on forward with the package. This could be it, as this one's picked up a little bit before any of the objectives actually spawn. They're looking towards the Zaremba, get some damage onto Creox the jungler. It's half health. Remember, Chimera's going to be picking out damage, but they're turning the fight around. Fully past. Oh, Shredder's almost deleted. He's shredded through. The Renata ultimate doesn't catch onto anyone important as Chimera has to fly away, but ultimately, we saw the package used defensively, and now Vanir can move towards that Hex take Soul.
Okay, but this isn't over just yet. You do have ult from Ericsson. That's the last remaining playmaking tool. Flash in an ult. What can you do, Ericsson? No other mobility available. Oh, Dream pull!
Low, caught up, but Dream pull on the side, looking for the assassination, the ambush from the bushes as Vanir get themselves the soul. That could be all they need, breaking the lines of MNM Gaming. Mishigu dives forward, but it's only into the grave as the Shredder stands not strong, as Vanir should be able to close this one out.
Oh, Vanir, they make a meal out of it, but they do manage to find the advantages they need around the big team fights and finally walk away with the win.
Vanir, in an above-average game time for the NLC Division 1, secure themselves a win, go one place, one game below X7 Esports towards those playoff spots. MNM Gaming probably be kicking themselves a little bit after that one.
Feels like it. I feel like there were a couple of side laning mistakes, a couple of easy opportunities thrown over to Vanir. I think that Vanir picked up those opportunities well. I think particularly Dream Pull on the Renekton, it won't show in that KDA, did a fine job of finding those picks.
Yeah.
Being there at the first kind of play, flashing onto the right targets, and then Merbs on that Zeri was such a factor. That big kiting play around that dragon fight was one of the big turning points for Vanir. It managed to out-team fight MNM at the end of the day, where it did feel like they had the damage they needed to seal that win, but Vanir just managed to outplay.
Realistically, the teams in our bottom half of the table didn't really show up today, unfortunately. I don't think any of them had a great standing. Obviously, some of the teams at the top also lost out. But to talk about this game and then all the games we saw today, we're going to head over to the analyst desk, who are no longer at the desk, to chat about what we just saw.
The analyst chairs.
Yeah.
Welcome to the lounge, I would say. Thank you so much for the cast as well. You guys were amazing throughout the entire day. Always a pleasure to hear not only Nymera, but also Viperone. Or Elton John, I don't know, one of those.
Yeah.
It's good.
We like them both.
Are you not used to love? Like, What?
Oh, he wants to fight, damn.
I'm commending you. I'm saying you did a good job. There you go. That's the ambience of the... No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Everybody goes well with each other.
Love, man.
It is tough love at the NLC. And a tough game as well for MNM. Even though they brought in a Renekton and everybody's like, well, Renekton is not good nowadays. It actually is if you have a late game carry like the Zeri.
I felt like they used the Renekton in such a way that he was not necessarily an early game snowballing champion, but they used him more as a tool. The way Dreampool would fight flanks through the jungle, the way he would fight flanks in all the team fights, the way he would protect Merbs to allow him room to go into the later on fights in the game. I think it wasn't the Renekton that we all know where it's like, oh, go drink a Renekton, he will take over the game. It wasn't that. It was more like a tool to neutralize Camille in lane and then give a lot of space to his team to play the fights.
Yeah. I was honestly very happy with Dreampool's Renekton. I was not expecting him to do nearly as well. And as you say, it was so interesting seeing it used in such a unique way. The last team fight, we saw it. Camara, he got flanked by Dreampool, and if that hadn't happened, maybe the fight had gone differently if he could get some good bombs off with his rockets, and he couldn't do that when there was a crocodile on him.
And Vanir is one step away from getting to X7 spot, which leads us to this interview with Flash, the coach from Vanir, to talk about this much. Oh, there you go. Welcome back. I haven't seen you in a long, long time. So congratulations on this victory. You're so close to getting to those playoffs moments. How are you feeling?
I think it's pretty fine by defeating MNM and seeing that X7 is not in a really good shape. I think we can knock them out of the playoffs because, you know, MNM won versus X7, we won versus MNM, so we are better than X7.
There you go. That's the logic. That's the logic. And I want to ask you, you brought in the Renekton, you have the Zeri late game. Do you think people are looking into the Renekton the wrong way nowadays and is actually viable in specific parts of the game?
I mean, honestly, it was not really planned. Dreampool just called that he wants Crocodile, and we picked that because it's very good versus Camille, and we can dive since we already had the Zeri. However, I feel like the game should be a little bit harder, especially on the bot side. I think MNM did the same mistake as we did versus JDXL, which is they pulled for the Volibear, and they went for the invade that also Dreampool called for because enemy are noobs, so it's obvious they're gonna do that. And because of that, we had two lanes with the Prios. We could all play with the Ahri, so the game was, I would say, a little bit sloppy. However, it was controlled by us most of the time.
So we have a few games left until, of course, the split is over. And you guys are like also a breath away from playoffs. Does this add any more pressure on your shoulders, knowing that the team had previously made playoffs in spring?
I don't think so. We're just doing our job. We are trying to win these games. So we are trying to learn from our losses, from our mistakes also. So we'll see how it will go.
Was this a listen to Flash draft? That's the important thing.
What? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Was this a listen to Flash draft?
Okay, was the draft good then, in your opinion, or it was bad?
So I don't remember who said that.
A meme, yeah.
There was a meme. Somebody said it on the desk. Who did we have? There was a guest that we had who knew you personally. And he's like, I know Flash. He's really good at draft. His team should listen to him. M-test, yeah. And then there was a draft which didn't go your way, guys. He was like, yeah, don't listen to Flash for this one.
Because like when draft is not going our way, then is Dakrek drafting and just chilling on the bed, you know? But when the draft is good, it's me and Dakrek.
Obviously, it was a meme, so thank you for your answer.
It was a meme. And as soon as he said M-test, his place was like, M-test.
Yeah, this guy.
Thank you so much for this one, Flash. Congratulations on the victory. You're so this close to get to that spot, and I wish you the best. Have a nice one.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
See ya. I really like Flash. And there you go. Yeah, it was M-test. Yeah. Is this a listen to Flash? On the other side, though, MNM, was this a complicated... Because you voted for MNM on our little game.
Want to drag that out again, huh? I mean, I did not expect the game to go the way it goes. And I think for me, mainly, I thought that Kaden would be able to scale into the late game, and he would actually do what Dreampool managed to do in the late game. Get those flanks, assassinate the backline. But in the end, Dreampool on the pick that probably should have been allowed to do it. Just managed to do it instead, and Kalen ended up actually being pretty useless that game. Didn't really add much.
Yeah, you have the Camille, your weapon to lock in the Zeri and not allow her to run, and she was running amok the entire game.
I think Renata is just really difficult to go through. You also had the average, so the second the ultimatum goes down, you don't really have many tools to dive the backline. We saw Chimera really struggling with the Corki package as well. He didn't have many ways of getting into the fight. Soph was trying to engage, but he was getting peeled. So yes, Kalen was diving the backline. He was finding targets. Like every time he would do the lock-in Ericsson, he would lock in Merbs. But I just think he just didn't have enough follow-up to help him achieve his goal.
Now MNM are a little bit away from that position. We don't have many weeks to go into playoffs. So looking into the math, this is going to be really complicated for MNM. Do they still have a shot though?
I mean, if they find the form that they had against X7, you know, maybe they could do it. And that was the team that I was hoping to see today, but it just didn't come through. And I mean, if they play like they did on Monday, yes. If they play like they did today, no.
So every game counts for the rest of the split. Let's talk with Shredder, the support, to understand how they're feeling. Welcome to the show. Obviously, this is not the result you were looking for. Can you tell me what went wrong? Because I look into the draft, and I feel like the draft was really good. Was this some sort of execution issue for the team? You guys were not on the same page today?
Yeah, I mean, the draft, I think, was really good from us, but we kind of struggled. We didn't expect a Renekton pick, so we were planning to play bot side. Of course, we have Ezreal Kama, we play bot side, we stack waves. But then Soph said that he has to cover the dive, right, on top, because it's Renekton against Camille. So the game plan was a bit messed up from that point, so we couldn't really play our game. And we also, I mean, of course, we hinted, and it was even more harder, but so, yeah.
And now chances to go into playoffs are getting a little bit slim. How is the team mentality right now looking into that opportunity?
I mean, we're still really confident. We're really, we're really confident we know we can for sure still make it.
Okay.
And we will work even harder now. And yeah, I mean, of course, we still try.
Yeah, you have to focus.
Obviously, Shredder, since you work very closely with Mishigu, since he's your AD carry, we saw today in the draft there were two bans completely targeted towards him. One was the Kalista, which he shined previously. That's the way you guys beat X7. And also the Lucian, which is another of his early game AD carries he can play towards the bot side of the map. Now, one of your other successful bot lanes was the Samira Nautilus. Did you guys go through that process, the fact that they banned the two early game to like sort of push you onto the Samira, maybe?
I mean, about the Nautilus pick, I mean, last weeks we were really forcing Nautilus, I feel like. But now we are kind of changing our plan. So we were trying new stuff and not picking Nautilus. I mean, we're not forcing it anymore because it wasn't really playable. And we are trying some new stuff. But I mean, yeah, if there is an angle, of course, we go for like not Samira, whatever, because I mean, Mishigu is really good on Samira. It will carry us, so why not?
And you're an insane Nautilus as well, so
yes.
I think it matches.
That was my question, like, why didn't this show up? But, well, thank you so much for this interview, Shredder. Best of luck with that objective right now. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. Well, let's see if you guys have it in you. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always, man. See you. I love that. Now we know. Obviously, these teams are still looking to go into that position that allows you to go into playoffs. And it's really hard to look into this one. These teams are fighting for the spot of X7. Of all teams, it's going to be a rough one.
I'm just going to say that MNM still have to play JDXL.
Yes, it's not a good schedule for them.
The thing is, you need to win all your games from here on out, and you need other teams to lose theirs. And there's teams above them that have yet to play Singularity, that have yet to play Nuriki, that have yet to play MNM, who are the three last teams in the standings. So there's other teams who have an easier task, if you will, in quotations, and they still have to play the giants of the league.
Final take.
As a whole, I just think it's a very hard belief to be going into a playoff battle against the reigning champions and EU Masters quarterfinals, right? Because you always have that feeling that this team from X7 can always turn on. If they get on the same page, suddenly they're one of the best teams we have in the league and they fly up the table, and then that playoff battle won't really be happening. So it's kind of like, okay, if X7 really start playing like X7 did in spring, then it's going to be a very tough battle if you want to get into playoffs. But there is hope, and I hope especially Vanir, who had a good day today, and now 5-7, believe that they can do it, because I want to see them push X7 to the limits and maybe even take their spot in the end.
Let's bring the visual to understand what they need to do. So let's look into the standings for today to understand what these teams are required to do in order to get to that position. Vanir are 1 game away from X7's position. Obviously, this is not, okay, we do it, we're done. No, it's a continuous race, but they're getting close. MNM, though, it is still a long journey, I would say.
Yeah, and we only have, if I'm not wrong, 6 games left to play from what I've seen. Yeah, because it's
Should
9
be,
for each
yeah.
team. Yeah, 18, and I'm seeing JDXL at 12, which means they're missing 6 games. So we have 3 more weeks left to play. That's only 6 games, and you already need, if you're MNM, 3 wins to reach an X7 if X7 do not pick any victories up themselves. So it's a really rough game to play. They still believe in themselves, and rightly so, because they'd been 3 times so close to capitalizing.
Yeah, and it's just a heartbreak for MNM, and I think for Nuriki as well, right? Nuriki is also a team that has had some games where maybe they should have actually gone ahead with the win, but you know, you need to be able to go out and get the result, and if you don't, you end up in the bottom of the standings, and while it's heartbreaking, and while they now have to calculate on other teams, they just needed to have taken those games when they had them in their hands.
This is how it works. We have to live with it. We can also show you right now the NLC social media clash standings. We got it ready for you guys. We're not able to show you before, but now we can do it as we get to replay Riddle, who takes first place on this one, followed up by X7. They're tied up. Vanir 3rd place. This is so good.
What is this nose scared of? He's literally shown cupcakes.
No, that's Torok.
He looks like he's terrified. The nose. What have they done to the nose?
He's just contemplating life.
Honestly, that is terrifying. It's happened 3 times in a row. It's like the sequel. It's like Nightmare 1.
In the Amsterdam.
Summer 2020, Nightmare 1. Spring 2021, Nightmare 2, you know?
Riddle and X7 tied for first. Vanir just looking in the shadows. So maybe next week we can see a shift.
I see now. He was trying to eat one of them.
But he's not
and
allowed.
they pulled away the plate. That's why he's upset. Okay, now I get it.
She found meaning to life at this specific moment.
Now I get it.
The play of the day by MasterCard. This is our new next segment to understand what was the play today, the defining one, or maybe not play, but plays. Take a look.
Oh, very spicy.
Is it the bonking season?
Yep, this is going to be back to back to back to back to back kills from Cries in the top lane. I think he deserves the highlight this week. On Monday, he went 0-4-0 on this Aurelia, and right now he was given the champion to carry from his team. He was given the counter pick, and actually he shined. Yes, Dan put him ahead in lane with the early game ganks, but then later on he managed to snowball. This was his 2nd solo kill onto Jaxbank as well, and he gets a 3rd one also later on underneath his inhibitor.
You can kind of say it's a return to form, right? This is finally Cries showing what he can do, and it's very good for him to bounce back. So he doesn't go out with a very bad week where he had 1 bad game on Monday and then maybe got clapped here by Jaxbank. No, this was an asserting win against the 2nd place team in the league, so they are now solidly in 1st place. He had a great game, and I think that helps a lot moving into the latter half of the split, winning these last few games, securing that 1st place, and more importantly, top 2 for the upper bracket.
Return of Cries with a little bit of help from Dan. That's all he needed. Oh, I heard you like to split push, Jaxbank. I don't die. That's exactly what Tryndamere does for you. What an interesting champion. What an interesting day we're going to have on the next week, as we're going to show you the schedule for that one to understand what teams are going to be facing against each other. It is going to be Riddle versus MNM. So Riddle have to play versus JDXL. Riddle on the next week as well. It's going to be a tough one. Nuriki will face off this new team Singularity. Dusty versus Bifrost. What a spicy one. Astralis taking on JDXL, and wrapping it up, Vanir versus X7. We kept talking about it. I know you want to talk about it, Duckling.
That is the game to look forward to, because
yes,
while we have some, this is more for standings inside the playoff battle with Dusty and Bifrost, Astralis and JDXL. That is the one you want to look at. I know Vanir has so many fans out there, and you know, if you want to keep that playoff hope alive, you have to win this game.
This is the game.
that is the game you need to win. So every Vanir fan, you have to send messages into the players like, you need to win this game. Don't put too much pressure on them, but support them.
Send
Be like,
love.
we believe in you.
Yeah.
Give them faith that they can beat the reigning champions because they need to win that game. And if they do, it would be so good for Vanir fans.
I'd like to put a little bit of pressure on MNM because I remember that they had to play JDXL because that was the last game on the first round
Riddle.
robin. But they also have to play Riddle. So they literally, to make it to playoffs and hope to tie with someone, they have to beat XL and Riddle. That's #1 and #2 in the league. Now, showing up the way they did versus X7, I believe they can do it.
But let's see what
I'm not betting any donuts this time, though.
state of MNM we'll see on Monday, because we're going to wrap the show for today. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and by the way, you won the game.
Nothing?
No, I'm serious. You have a prize. I don't know these guys. So your prize, because you won this one, is a hotel key, just so you can sleep.
It's not my key.
Well, it was. Thank you so much for watching this show. I'll see you on Monday, and keep climbing that mountain, you beautiful viewer.
How am I gonna sleep?
On the street.
You stole his
You stole my
key.
hotel key.
Haha.
I have no bed now.